Hey gang, join us for one of our free Ignite CBD in-store demo and sampling events in select CBD Source Center locations around New York State. Ignite CBD tinctures come in a variety of flavors, from blood orange to lavender to tropical fruit. Come in and get your tink on and maybe go home with a bottle.
Monday, January 20th.
Rockport, New York, from noon to 3 p.m. and West Henrietta, New York, from 4 to 7 p.m.
Tuesday, January 21st.
Newark, New York, from noon to 3 p.m. and Canandaigua, New York, from 4 to 7 p.m.
Wednesday, January 22nd.
299 Route 211, Middletown, New York, from noon to 3 p.m.
With a special appearance and a live recording of the CBD Source podcast. Come and watch the magic happen and take a tink of Ignite CBD with Cole Chaney and other members of the CBD Source podcast gang.
Hey, that's me. Come meet me.
Maybe get on mic and become part of the show.
Fun continues Thursday, January 23rd.
Oswego East, noon to 3 p.m. and Oswego West, 3:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Friday, January 24th.
Oneonta, New York, 5051 State Route 23, from noon to 3 p.m. Oneonta, New York, 76 Chestnut Street, from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Monday, January 27th.
Syracuse Shop City, New York, from noon to 3 p.m. and Syracuse West Genesee Street, New York, from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m.
And finally, Tuesday, January 28th.
Rome, New York, from noon to 3 p.m. and Utica, New York, from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Start your year off right. Head to cbdsourcecenter.com for Eventbrite information on all of the dates and locations, and we'll CBD you there.
Hey gang, I'm Cole Chaney, and this is episode 39 of the CBD Source podcast. Happy Hemp Day. You're listening to the CBD Source podcast, your source for all things CBD. What's up, gang? Today we're talking terpenes. Coming up in the show, we're going to learn a lot about terpenes today, gang. We got a guest that's going to be here for the whole hour. She's going to teach us all about her favorite terpenes. Everybody talks about CBD and THC and other cannabinoids, but terpenes kind of get tossed by the wayside. Not today. Not today, gang. We're going to be talking terps. So, gang, this episode is a precursor to next episode. We're going to be learning about a whole bunch of different terpenes this episode. And it's a lot to take in, but it's really good, informative information and great stories. So hope you stay through to the end, because we're going to be giving away some CBD infused with terpenes. And we'll tell you how to win that later on. This episode opens the door to the next episode when we're back in Vegas, baby. Cannabis Diet Chef Ryan Weber and myself, Cole Chaney, were invited onto a Terps party bus. It's not every day you're invited to save the Terps. Here's a little teaser of what's coming up next episode. So some people just approached us.
I did.
Because we're the shit. When we were waiting to get our Uber, or thinking about getting an Uber. They've got a Terps bus that's heading to a dispensary to talk about Save the Terps.
Let's save them.
Are you guys coming on the bus?
Yeah,
We are.
Great. Hi, I'm Courage. Nice to meet you guys. I just got here. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, what is this bus?
Okay, yes, we're MJ Biz, and we've got a party bus going on. It is a dispensary shuttle, okay?
Hell yeah.
It's totally free if you love terps, which I'm pretty sure
We love
everybody
terps.
loves terps,
Everyone
right?
on this show loves terps.
Everyone loves terps.
So, gang, you've got that to look forward to. Before we jump into that interview, for all you New Yorkers out there, last week Governor Andrew Cuomo gave a press conference, and he had this to say about marijuana legalization in 2020.
And New York has to establish a regulated adult use cannabis program. We had an expert group, State Police, Department of Health come together. They did a report. They said the benefits outweigh the risks. Now we just have to put it in place. And we have to do it in a way that creates an economic opportunity for poor communities and people who paid the price, and not for rich corporations who are going to come in to make a buck. It reduces the impact of criminalization on communities of colors. It will automatically seal certain cannabis-related criminal records. It implements quality control. Counties and large cities can opt out, so we're not telling them what to do, but they have to affirmatively opt out of the program. Nobody under 21 years old. It generates approximately $300 million in tax revenue and creates good union jobs that we need.
So we have that to look forward to, gang. Adult recreational, it's on the horizon. It was supposed to happen last year, but 2020 is the time. Looks like the Big Apple's about to get a lot danker. First, we're going to learn about terps. Some of you may be saying, what are terps? What even is them? What are those? What are this? Why are you taunting me? Just tell me, what are these terps? Well, it's all coming up, gang. You ever walk into a concert or just heading down the street and you get that whiff? You get that dank smell wafting towards you, and you know somebody's getting lit. Well, that smell that you're smelling are terps. It's not just cannabis that has terpenes. So many plants and fruits have terpenes. One of the coolest things about terps is that they smell like they do because the strong odor you smell when you smell terps are actually a plant protecting itself from herbivores. The scents deter herbivores and attract predators. That's crazy. We're going to learn about 9 different terpenes today. Thanks to our guest, she was born with a often undiagnosed connective tissue disorder, and in combination with cannabinoids, terpenes are her medicine. She's a medical cannabis patient and a marijuana refugee who recently spoke at CBD IO, and she knows a ton about terps. Let's cannabis right into it. Gang, give a big CBD Source podcast welcome to Sarah Schwefel.
Gang, you're listening to the CBD Source podcast.
Hello.
Sarah, hey, it's Kyle Cheney, CBD Source podcast.
Hi, Cole. How are you?
Good. Sarah Schweifel's with us, and she is a cannabis medical patient. And I contacted you because not only did you make a great post on our Instagram, but I was checking out your Instagram page, and you have an amazing assortment of different terpenes that are like, I guess, your favorite terpenes. And there's some great descriptions there, and I want to talk about what terpenes you use. And first, let's get into your backstory a little bit, because you've got some serious stuff happening with you, and it seems like cannabinoids have really helped you a lot. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Cole. Cannabis realistically is the reason at this point I have a quality of life. I moved from Wisconsin to Las Vegas, Nevada, a year and a half ago now for cannabis. We moved in August 2018, and it's truly saving my life in so many ways. I have a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it's a connective tissue disorder which affects your collagen in your body. So quite frankly, I literally fall apart and dislocate. Unfortunately, it has resulted in many spine injuries for myself, and my EDS took the turn for the worse about 6 years ago now.
Oh.
Yeah, it definitely took the turn very ugly, very quickly.
What happened that set the turn off?
I was just living my life. I was a career woman working 60 to 70 hours a week in management and marketing, and I ended up with a compression fracture. No big accident. I was just living. Nothing at all happened. And my doctor said in 6 weeks, you'll be fine, just rest and it will heal. Unfortunately, that fracture to this day is still unstable, and many have followed after that. And that kind of triggered my EDS to take the turn for the worse that it did at such a fast rate in my body.
So what exactly is this? What happens to you? Explain it a little bit more, just so I can understand.
Yes, absolutely. It's a connective tissue disorder, so it affects the collagen in my body. And the collagen is basically the glue that holds your body together. Well, in someone like myself, that collagen is faulty. So it causes dislocations in my body where my shoulders fall out, my ribs fall out of place.
Yikes.
Because my body doesn't have the collagen to hold itself together.
Wow, that's a tough one to deal with. So how did you find out that cannabinoids might do something to help this, or like at least make you feel better?
Well, me and my husband came down in January of 2018 to get married in Las Vegas, Nevada. And that was kind of the last hurrah in a sense before I bought a wheelchair. And that was something that we were saving for. I was bedbound and couldn't do much for myself, using a walker at that time as well at home. And we came down just for the 3 days. And I thought, well, we'll go to the dispensary. It's legal here. I was taking some CBD oil prior, and I just wanted to make it through the 3-day vacation. My goal, Cole, was to be able to walk down the aisle, and that's all I wanted to do at that point. And we went there. I talked to an amazing bud tender who had knowledge, which is so important in this cannabis industry, that they know what they're talking about.
Do you remember which dispensary it was?
Essence dispensary in Las Vegas.
One of the first.
I believe so. Yeah.
I was just reading about that.
Yeah, and that was actually on the strip, so it was the most convenient for us. And all the tourists went there, so you had to go check it out. And I wanted to see if it could help me just get through the trip.
Right.
And we were able to get some strains. We were able to get edibles for me, oils, and a strain called Grape Stomper in particular with high myrcene. And I was trying it and I was in tears when we got there. All I thought was, there's no way I can do this. I don't know what I'm doing in Las Vegas right now. I can't walk. I can't do this. It was so bad. And
oh man,
I tried the cannabis for the first time. And after like about an hour or so, I felt this wave when I was walking crash into me. And it felt like it took so much pain with it that wasn't supposed to go away. That pain was impossible to leave. That's what every single doctor had told me prior. And there was nothing to help me. And yet there I was, and I felt almost a 2 in pain. And I haven't felt that in probably 4 years prior to that. I live with an 8 to 9 daily.
Wow.
It was a phenomenal experience in my life. And I remember that moment I broke down and started crying. And all I could think was, is this the end? Is this what it feels like before you stop walking? Because there was no way in my mind that I could not feel that much pain in my spine or my body when I walked. And it was the cannabis. And my husband said, no matter what, we'll move to Las Vegas. And I thought he was nuts because it's very hard to move across the country. We were in Wisconsin. So 1,800 miles we came.
Just because it's legal, there. It makes sense. But wow, they don't have medical in Wisconsin?
They do not know it. It's fully illegal in Wisconsin.
Wow.
And I did use some in Wisconsin, but I mean, you commit a crime to medicate and to be able to try to tolerate your life. And that's not okay that people are in fear just trying to medicate a tiny bit to be able to live. And it's not even close to the quality you can get in a legal state.
Yeah. It fascinates me that you're talking about this one strain that you picked up and it had myrcene in it, because when we went to Vegas for MJ BizCon, we went to a dispensary and the bud tender was really knowledgeable too. And she was telling us that this certain strain had myrcene in it and that it would give you more of a body high or something like that. And we were like, whoa, I didn't realize terps can change your high that much, or can like alter the way you're going to experience it that much. A lot of people just think of terpenes and they think of like, that's the smell of weed. Like when you're just walking along and you get a whiff of, a cannabis, someone's smoking on the corner or something. It's like, that's the terpenes you're smelling. So you sort of associate the smell and you think that's all it is. But when we were told at that dispensary that myrcene can actually change the complete feeling of your experience, then you look into how medical patients are talking about how different, like yourself, how different terpenes can completely change, from an 8 or 9 to a 2. It's not just the cannabis, but you're tossing these different specific elements, these specific terps, into a strain that somehow changes everything for you. I think this is amazing. It's something that we've been wanting to delve into terpenes for a while, just not only because they're such great smells and people don't know that much about them. They don't get as much glory as the cannabinoids, flavonoids even less, but I mean, it's in the middle there and we don't really talk about it that much, but I want to talk about some of these and how they've affected you and changed your experience with cannabis and how it's changed, your overall feeling, your overall just day-to-day walking around, physical therapy, that sort of stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And I do want to touch on the fact with the pain levels as well when it comes to cannabis and terpenes. It is attainable for myself to hit a 2 or a 3. I've hit it before on vacation. Unfortunately, so many of us absorb this stuff so well that it's not financially attainable for us to hit that 2 every day.
Right.
So many of us do accept, like myself, a 7 or an 8 daily, just because on vacation, we were spending hundreds of dollars a day on medicine.
Right.
And just seeing how much I could soak in and how well I could do down here. But that is something that our bodies do absorb on a daily basis for many of us medical patients.
What are the rules in Vegas about growing your own? Like if you have a little yard or like a little grow room or something in your apartment or house, could you grow your own? Just to have your own stash?
Yeah, absolutely. We are able to grow our own here. Unfortunately, we're renting right now, so we do need to invest into a grow tent to be able to do so and kind of make sure that the smell is taken care of as well.
Right.
But that is something we're looking into. I do know it is very hard to find plants here in Las Vegas. So that is something that we are trying to figure out.
Maybe take a little road trip to LA and get some seeds or something.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking about. I haven't seen the ocean yet, so next summer, I'm definitely want to take a trip to California, maybe.
There you go. Yeah, you're just like dead center of the desert. It's dry as hell out there.
Oh yeah, dry climate. I love on my body though.
Cool. So let's dig into some of these terps and how they've helped you and how they've helped other medical patients that you might know of. Because I want to really like delve in. I want to like go one layer deeper and try to figure out what these different terps are. And people at home listening, the gang at home probably have either tried different hemp or different marijuana strains that might have these different terps. But you also might have just experienced these terps from vegetables or fruits or trees or things like that. Because the same terpenes exist both in cannabis and in a bunch of other things in nature, right?
Yes, absolutely. So if we touch on something like myrcene that we were already talking about, myrcene many people have said that it has been anti-inflammatory. It's a mild sedative and offers sleep support. And it also has a pain relieving effect for many people as well. And then for the sedative effect for myrcene, it's like you said, it's more so of that body high where it's relaxing the muscles within for many medical patients. And not only can you find that in cannabis, but you can find that in mangoes, lemongrass, bay leaves, hops, thyme. Hops is, of course, found in beer. That's what everyone knows, right?
Yeah.
And when people drink beer, you kind of have that relaxing muscle effect. That's myrcene. That's the terpene myrcene. And it's so much more than that woodsy aroma. It's something so many of us rely on to be able to get that relief in our muscles and our pain within our body.
It's funny. I saw a meme the other day about how someone was saying that mangoes, like make your high more intense. Maybe it's the myrcene in the mangoes that's like interacting with the cannabinoids, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you take the natural item with the cannabis as well, and you combine those two. So say you eat a mango 30 minutes before you medicate with a myrcene high joint or a bowl or something like that sort, then you're actually boosting the mango within your body. So you're absorbing it while you're smoking in your lungs and in your bloodstream. But then you're also having that in your digestive system immediately because you have that mangoes going in your tract with the myrcene in them.
Wow, good tip.
So that's a way that I also boost kind of my terpenes within. And I also use essential oils now where I take lemongrass daily, definitely mix it with water. It's a hot oil, but you take a shot of that daily. I take that and then I boost my myrcene, get that extra boost with my cannabis to really make my cannabis work as best as humanly possible.
These are amazing tips. Like think of all the yuppies that have been doing their little lemongrass shots. They didn't realize they're just getting myrcene. They're trying to get myrcene into their system. That's amazing. Who knew? It's really cool. All right, so let's move on from myrcene. There's so many others. I think we're gonna touch on like the 9 that you had in your stories on Instagram. If anyone wants to check out your Instagram, what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is @rising_zebra. And fun fact, the zebra is actually the mascot for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. EDS for short is the abbreviation. And it basically comes from the term where when doctors are training in medical school, they are taught when you look at a patient, you look for hoofbeats, right? You don't look for stripes. You look for horses, not zebras, not the rare patient. So we're kind of pushed to the dust. And that's why we coined the term medical zebras, because we're not as rare as people think, but we're so overlooked. And people often push us off because we're not the textbook case.
How many people worldwide or just in America have this?
Unfortunately, it's so underdiagnosed that we can't necessarily pinpoint exactly who has it and who doesn't. I'm growing up, they referred to me as triple jointed myself until I got the diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Wow, so there's probably a lot of people out there who are undiagnosed and don't realize that cannabis could be helping you. Could be taking that pain down just because they don't know what they even have.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe are scared of cannabis because they grew up in a state that it's illegal.
Yes. And what I'm finding as well is that there's people actually within the legal states that do have that stigma around cannabis and haven't tried it yet. Because I think when one gets sick, it's so easy to think you go to a doctor and a doctor fixes you. That's what happens. But when there is no fix at the doctor, you're kind of left to scramble. And sometimes you keep going and trying to find as many things as you can or many doctors as you can to try to find that answer. And it's not cannabis for many people because of that stigma that surrounds it. And I hope by sharing my story, we can break that stigma because it is saving my life and giving me my life back in so many ways. And it's truly a miracle for so many of us every single day of our lives. And it's like, all you have to lose is pain. Just try it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You get a little high, you get a little hungry, then it goes away. That's the worst thing that can happen to you. So why not try it?
Hell yeah. If one other person is listening to this who doesn't know they have this syndrome and and finds out about it and finds out or know they have the syndrome but don't realize until now that cannabis can do something for you, then like we've definitely done something positive for humanity. And the funny thing about this stigma, like we were just talking about mangoes and lemongrass they have the same organic compound in it that certain strains of cannabis have. It's just like an organic compound, just like it's found in different plants on Earth, and it interacts with is it part of the, like, affecting the endocannabinoid system the same way a cannabinoid does, or does it affect some other system in us? Do you know that? I don't know exactly how that works.
I think there definitely needs to be more research in terpenes, and that's unfortunately where the area is lacking. So I think a lot of us, there are studies that have been done on numerous terpenes. Unfortunately, a lot of those studies have been limited to just rats and have not gone to the human studies yet. So I think that the more of us talk about it, the more of it gets out in the industry. Maybe the industry can pick up and say, hey, we need to research, where does this exactly target? What is this exactly doing for patients? That way everyone can accurately pick out their medicine and figure out exactly what we need for our bodies.
Yeah, and somehow it's piggybacking on top of the cannabinoids and changing your experience with it, which is amazing. It really does need to be looked into more. It's fascinating to me. All right, let's jump to another terpene, because there's a lot of terpenes out there. How many terpenes are there?
I know there's many, many terpenes, but there's some of them are not even known about right now.
Yeah, there are like 200 terpenes out there.
Yeah.
But we're just going to focus today on these 9 that are, commonly known to be in different strains of marijuana and hemp, and also appear in a lot of other fruits and vegetables and things like that people can get at a grocery store or, health food store. So let's jump to another one. What's another favorite of yours? So
linalool is something that I use every single day. I actually use a vape cartridge that has high THC and high linalool in it, 98.2 milligrams on average of linalool. So it's very, very potent in the linalool terpene.
I've always read it as linalool. I have no idea how it's actually pronounced. Linalool, you said?
I say linalool, but it could be linalool.
Right.
Tomato,
Right. Linalool, linalool. So yeah, it's, when I think of it, I always think of it as like lavender, that smell of lavender flowers.
Yes, absolutely. With lavender, that smell, it's also, if you look at like bath bombs or lotions, if you take a CBD lotion that has a lavender essential oil in it, that's that boost of linalool in there. So you're having additional terpenes added in, and some companies don't even know they're doing it. They just think it's for that lovely scent, but really you're getting that extra boost. So when I do CBD bath bombs, I always reach for lavender myself or eucalyptus because it has the eucalyptal.
Yeah, like a lot of people will spray some on their pillow or something like that, or like light candles that are scented with that linalool. They're thinking of it as lavender, but you're really getting this terpene. So where would we find this outside of cannabis?
So outside of cannabis, you're finding this, of course, in the lavender. You're also finding it in things like mint. If you add mint to your water, that's a perfect way that I incorporate linalool. Coriander, cinnamon, birch tree, bergamot, and rosewood are big ones that they're also found in.
Okay, cool. And what kind of qualities has this been known to like have in people besides like a nice sedative, calming, which everyone knows, like that's kind of like the staple of a good lavender.
Yeah, absolutely. It is sedative, calming. It has those relaxing effects. That's why you spray it on your pillow at night, because it assists in that sleep as well.
Right.
But it also has been known to help with anti-epileptic effects, and it also has pain relieving properties for many of us. That's something that is not proven. However, when I do go to the dispensary, so many bud tenders are always shocked that I'm a pain patient and I use linalool.
Why is that?
And they said not many pain patients are grabbing linalool just because they think of it as something that only is mainly for sleep. But it's not. It's, for me, it helps me throughout the whole entire day. Yes, it gives a sedative effect, but for me, it drops my muscle pain enough that I can function. And that's what it is for me. So the sedative effect is actually, in a sense, energizing, just because it helps my muscle pain enough to tolerate and function and get out of bed.
Wow. So let's say, like, before you've taken a hit off of that vape pen that has the linalool, what are you feeling? Like you're at this pain level, this high pain level. Like what kind of stuff is going on in your body that you're just like, this is going to go away the second I take this? Like what does it knock out the second you hit that vape, or a few minutes after, or however long it takes to kick in?
Okay, it does definitely take some time for me. And I do need to take about 10 to 20 puffs on average just to be able to get those effects right away.
Wow.
I do vape throughout the day as well. Many people are kind of shocked by that, but I do get cannabis almost constantly throughout the day to maintain that level in my body. But for linalool, it's like, for instance, I'll have a tenseness in my shoulders and muscles and I get spasms because of the dislocations. Spasms kind of form to hold my bones together and hold my body. So those spasms kind of also cause havoc and cause pain and dislocate things. So the lavender causes those muscles to kind of untense in my body and drop. So that way it's not so spastic in my body.
Have you ever tried like a topical, like a CBD with linalool in it or something like that? Try rubbing it into those areas that are like extremely painful?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also use essential oils now. I have been studying that once I figured out that all plants have terpenes. So I actually make a cream of myself with coconut oil, with lavender. It has helichrysum in it, wintergreen, peppermint. And I mix all those together. And then I put that on my back every single day.
Oh, cool.
And soak in the lavender that way as well.
Nice. And so you're combining terps, and that's just straight terps, really. I mean, that's like, you're not throwing cannabinoids into that at all. It's just all different types of terps mixed with coconut.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
And then I also have my CBD lotion that I'll put carrier oil like on top of it after I use the essential oil cream as well.
Okay, nice. All right, so let's move on from linalool. What's the next one you want to talk about?
Okay, so we'll go to limonene. Limonene is a huge one in the industry. It's citrus scent.
Right.
Yeah, and everyone loves the citrus scent. Limonene usually has the bright hairs as well because they are the trichomes on the plant. So everyone thinks, wow, that's the amazing bud, and they grab it. But what they don't realize is they're getting so many benefits. Limonene is huge for many people for stress relief and elevated mood. It actually helps and supports the digestive system. It's also an immune support and an antioxidant, and offers anti-inflammatory benefits for many of us.
Yeah, I always wonder what it exactly does whenever I would do a vape cartridge that has like a high level of limonene terp. And they always hit me really hard. I don't know why, but it's like every time I've tried a THC vape cart that has a high level of limonene, it's just kind of like terps. It's hitting me like the strong terps is I've always associated with limonene, but I really like it. You know, it's kind of like it really, to me, I think it really boosts your the effectiveness, the efficacy of like a 1-to-1 or just a straight THC with a tiny bit of CBD. Limonene is like one of my favorites, I would say.
And it definitely gives you that huge uplifting effect. Does it do the same for you as well, Cole?
Yeah. It hits me harder and it makes me more active, depending on if you're taking like an indica or sativa. But I mostly am taking sativa these days. I want to be thinking and moving and not just like couch locked. You know what I mean?
I do. I talk to some people, of course, who are not medical patients, and many people who refers to indica as couch.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because for so many of us medical patients, we rely on only indicas. Huh. They're the ones that have like the higher myrcenes and the pain relieving effects for many of us. And it's not necessarily something that causes us to go in the couch. But for me, it gives me energy immediately because the pain levels reduce enough that I can function for the day.
It's so fascinating to hear that. It sort of like reminds me of when people who are ADD or ADHD take like Ritalin or something, and it actually just mellows them and makes them steady and calm. But like if you don't have those symptoms in life and you take those medications, then it makes you like wired. You know what I mean? It has the exact opposite effect of someone who's an actual medical patient who needs that medication. So it's sort of having the reverse effect on you as it would on me in a way, as far as the couch lock and whatnot.
That's absolutely. Cool. I love what the bartenders always say. Oh, you ready to go home and go to sleep when I pick up a lot of flour? And it's like, oh no, honey, I'm ready to walk. It's okay.
Now that you're living in Vegas, you must be a connoisseur of all these different dispensaries, huh? You're a regular.
Yes, I have checked out a few, but honestly, I do rely back to the one that I first originally started on many times. They do offer disability discounts though, which is amazing at 20% off.
Wow.
So it does help with the cost of cannabis.
That's cool.
Yes. And not many dispensaries have I found that done that. So I do really appreciate discounts when they come because $1 adds up so much when you buy as much medicine as many of us do, like myself.
Do many dispensaries offer that, or is it just like one or two?
I've only found two that offer discounts in Las Vegas myself. So unfortunately, not many that I've found in the area.
Something for medical patients to think about and something for dispensaries to think about. If you realize there are like 50 dispensaries in Las Vegas, but Sarah's been loyal to this one just because they have that discount. Think about that, dispensaries. It's stuff you unless you're in that situation, you don't really even have a clue that would be something that could be offered.
And some of them actually offer nurses. I was able to see a nurse completely for free at no cost to me. And that was without a medical card. It was just me going in. We are a recreational market as well, though. But I went in and I scheduled an appointment with the nurse. And that was before I actually knew what Rick Simpson oil was. And she explained it to me and said, you're doing it all wrong, basically. You need way more than the average person. Stop taking the oils, go to Rick Simpson oil. And it helped so much because it was that guidance and that little boost of that one-on-one that I really needed with someone who understood cannabis right away.
Right. RSO. And that stuff is really expensive too. I mean, like that's going to be setting you back a lot. Potent though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But very potent.
If I could take it, I would take a gram a day, but we're about a gram a week right now.
Wow. It's so weird that like you have health insurance or Medicaid or Medicare, something like that. But
I have health insurance through my husband. Yes.
Okay. But it doesn't cover this, right?
No, not at all. Not one bit.
This is one of the reasons why it has to get federally legalized. So people's health insurance, or, you know, if we eventually do get like a Medicare for all type of thing, will cover these medicines for people who really need them, not just recreational, but people like you who really need them. And like you said, you could be doing a gram a day and it would make your quality of life so much better, you know? But it's amazing that it's not covered, you know, like it's from a plant, it's natural. It's not like cooked up in some kind of crazy lab. It is a natural thing that grows in the earth, and somehow it makes you go from a 9 or 10 to a 2. Like, why isn't that covered? It blows my mind.
It's almost like a level of psychological torture living in a legal market. To be honest with you, I moved here and I felt that too on vacation. So I thought that was my life when I moved here. I thought, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to start working. I'm not going to use my cane. I'm going to be fine. That was my thought. And then I realized that my body literally needed that much money a day to be able to sustain that type of living. And that cannot happen for the majority of Americans, except the top probably 3%, cannot afford $500 to $600 a day in cannabis. It will not work. And so many of us settle with an 8 when the reality is we know we can have less pain. And that's a problem for so many of us. You can't allow people to suffer when there's an option. So I absolutely agree with you. It needs to be legalized. For one, everyone has access. And two, so that way insurance can also look at this as medicine and we can get it approved. And that way it is financially attainable for all of us. So
instead of spending $500 or $600 a day, you're dropping that a week now.
Yeah, or even a month, depending on the month.
Right.
To be honest.
If you can parse it out that long to try to, you know, you'll have days that you're in more pain than others, I would imagine, or something. On top of that, you're paying for your husband's health insurance, which doesn't cover this at all. So $500 or $600 plus that. It's blowing my mind. It's almost like, to think of it as myself who's not in chronic pain, I'm sure like a majority of Americans or people on earth are not in constant chronic pain. To put it in perspective, it's like we all breathe oxygen. Like imagine you had to pay $600 a day for your oxygen to not be in pain. Like something like that. It's like something that you might not even think about because you're not constantly being bothered by your ribs ripping apart. But the fact that this plant exists, you're in a state where it's legal and it's just so expensive, not covered by any kind of health insurance. It's really insane. All right, let's move on to another one of these terps. For people, terps are not just for people who have medical conditions or are going through something really painful and trying to recover, but it's also, they have benefits for pretty much anybody who has a body, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, we can go to pinene. A lot of people, you get that forgetful feeling. A lot of people do because of that psychological effect that THC does to you, right?
Right.
And some people get that forgetful feeling. Well, if you use something like pinene in your cannabis, that actually helps improve your memory. So that is going to actually help you counterfect those effects, Cole. So that way you don't have that feeling of like, oh, what did I just remember?
That short term.
Yeah. Why did I come in this room constantly?
Short term memory loss.
And so many people are.
Right. Pinene is one of my favorites too. That's that great smell of a pine tree. I've talked about pinene before where, you walk into a forest and you're just kind of like all of the trees are sort of like entering your body through your nose. Like you're really taking it all in and it's going right to your brain and you're really soaking those terps in. And you don't even realize why forests are so like calming and you can breathe so well in there and it just tastes like nature. It feels like nature. because you're getting pinene into your body. You're taking this natural terp in, and you'll stumble on certain strains of hemp or cannabis that have a lot of pinene in it, and it has that smell, that like woodsy Christmas tree kind of smell.
Yes, and it actually offers respiratory support as well, which is why you have that feeling of that openness when you take that breath of fresh air when you walk into a pine forest, or even when you spy a tree at Christmas.
Right.
That's that piney, that respiratory support that instantly hits you.
My girlfriend it's like her favorite smell. Like all of our candles are like white birch or, like the Christmas tree type of smells. She loves that smell. And I guess combining it with, taking cannabinoids at the same time, you're really getting that effect with a candle burning in the room. You're like taking in terps from the burning, and also from, vaping or ingesting cannabinoids in other ways. So I guess I do a lot of pinene without even realizing it.
Absolutely. Your memory must be right on, hey?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And where else can we find pinene besides like pine trees?
So pine trees are the obvious option, of course, right? And pine nuts, but it's also found in citrus rinds. So limonene and pinene are in citrus rinds. In eucalyptus, which is awesome. If you take a eucalyptus, you hang it on your shower, it's naturally going to fill you up. So if you have a little bit of a cold or anything like that, you want that respiratory support, hang that eucalyptus in your shower, and it's going to naturally help open you up as well. Wow. It's also found in sage and rosemary, another two big ones.
I wonder if the price of eucalyptus is skyrocketing now that Australia is like all on fire. Isn't that like an Australian tree, the eucalyptus tree? Like I always associate koalas with eucalyptus for some reason.
I believe so. I think you're right on that one.
Might be like a scarcity now of eucalyptus. All right, so let's move on. Pinene's great, just so everyone knows. Do you know any strains that are like known to have these different terps that are like heavy in them?
The problem is that not many states actually label terpenes. So not every single state labels exactly what is in their cannabis. And I can go, for instance, and I can get a brand called SC Slimer, right? That's one that usually works very well for me. And sometimes it has 6 to 8 milligrams of myrcene and it's perfect. But sometimes the numbers drop to 2 to 1 milligrams. And that cannabis barely does anything for my body at all. So unfortunately, without the accurate testing, there's really only gambling and guessing. All you can say is, well, it kind of smells like pine. It seems to be, sometimes the lemon meringue has a lot of pinene in it, but sometimes that batch has 0 pinene. So unfortunately, just going off that strain name is not enough. And I think that's a problem for so many patients, especially because they go into the dispensary, and wedding cake is a huge one for people in the pain community. And they always say, well, I take wedding cake. I go in and get wedding cake. Well, this week my pain's really high. I wonder why. Well, maybe that's a different batch and it doesn't have the right terpenes this time. So not same effects.
Wow. What is wedding cake? What does it have in it that makes it so effective for people in the pain community?
Wedding cake, I believe, is potent in myrcene. I unfortunately have not been able to try that strand myself. Grape Stomper is another big one, though, that a lot of people rely on. That's one of my favorites. And that usually does have high myrcene. But again, there's sometimes cold that I can't buy it because it has 2 to 3 milligrams and it won't do anything for my body.
Right. It's just too low.
Absolutely. That's a huge problem because it's still labeled the same. But if it doesn't have those terpene numbers on it, like in Las Vegas, everyone is required to do, then we don't actually know how to accurately buy our medicine. Or even for you, how to accurately have your high. You love limonene, you love pinene. And then, for instance, you switch to something. What if you don't like caryophyllene? It makes you anxious. And then you don't know what's going on, but it's really the same exact strain. And you had no idea that it switched the terpenes on you.
Let's talk about caryophyllene right now. What is that? I don't even know what that one is.
Caryophyllene, that's more of that. It's almost of that peppery smell. A lot of people associated it. It's found in black pepper, rosemary, hops, clove, and oregano as plants. And then for caryophyllene, it has anti-inflammatory effects for many people. It's also pain relieving, and it also helps reduce anxiety and aids in relaxation for many people with anxiety and depression disorders as well.
Oh, cool. Well, there are a lot of people who, when they're just normal, natural reaction to smoking weed, especially if they don't do it very often, is that weird anxiety or things like that. CBD has been known to calm down people's anxiety, like when they take a lot of THC that's overwhelming them or something like that, if they're not used to it, especially. And I guess this would be a great terp to throw into that if you had it, some strain or something with a high level of caryophyllene, it might aid in that. That's great.
Definitely. And if it has that peppery smell, hopefully that is something with caryophyllene. If you don't have the numbers labeled, that's kind of what you're looking for with that. And that can help reduce that anxiety that a lot of sativas bring a lot of people who don't necessarily need it for medical reasons.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that one. All right. See, we're all learning, gang. Let's do another one. How about humulene?
Humulene. That's how I say it. So hopefully we're right. If we're not, let us know. Hey.
Right.
So humulene is actually an appetite suppressant for many people. So it takes away that munchies with it. A lot of people have a lot of problems where they smoke THC or cannabis and they just start eating and they can't stop. And it actually bothers them, of course, because they don't want to gain weight or necessarily gorge on sugar just because they're kind of getting that feeling from the cannabis.
Yeah, munchies are real. Munchies are a real thing, in case anyone's wondering. So yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize that this existed. It's
good for patients to actually, some of them actually need to avoid it. Some people, of course, use cannabis for the appetite.
Right.
They need to boost the appetite. So if you have something with high humulene, it's completely counteracting what the cannabis is doing. And that's a strain that you want to stay away from.
Oh, wow.
It also has some anti-inflammatory and antibacterial benefits as well that have been proven in the plants that it has in, of course, which is clove, black pepper, basil, and hops. So that's where those claims come from of the antibacterial, anti-inflammatory benefits. I do like humulene, but it does suppress your appetite a lot for myself, especially.
Wow. So yeah, if you're taking chemo or something like that and you really are trying to get your appetite, you do not want a strain with humulene in it, like at all.
Yes.
What is a good strain for getting an appetite, or a good terpene that might add to bringing those heavy munchies on if you really need them?
I'd say for getting an appetite, I think caryophyllene would be a good one that would definitely help with people's appetite. A lot of people have told me that it has helped them. There are no proven benefits, of course, unfortunately, just because there needs to be more research about which one definitely targets the appetite more that I know of.
Right.
But I do think that caryophyllene would be a good one to look for. People have also told me that myrcene is a good one. Myrcene does help with my appetite and my nausea as well. That happens with pain and with my digestive system. Unfortunately, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome affects the whole entire body. So my digestive system also joins this party. And that one definitely helps me with my digestive pain, the myrcene.
Cool. So those are two like key ones for you.
Yes.
Caryophyllene and myrcene. Those are some health. Those are some definite ones you should look into, gang, if you're dealing with this type of ailment. All right, so let's move on to the next. We've got 3 more of this 9. Which one do you want to hit next?
Athugene.
Let me spell it. A-Thujene.
Yes.
Athugene. Okay.
Yes. And that one is not talked about enough, I believe. It helps very, very much in my body. It's found naturally in frankincense. And that's really how I take it in the most. But it is found in so many cannabis strains, but it's something that's not necessarily cultivated enough right now that it's labeled and it's talked about. But it has anti-arthritic properties for many of us. It helps with inflammation for so many of us. And it's actually a natural insecticide and antimicrobial. So it will also help with wound healing as well. So athugene is something that really needs to be studied a lot more. And they just really need to do a lot more research and put this into the cannabis.
Wow. Do they extract it? I went to a convention once, I think it was at Champs last year, and there were booths that just sold straight terps, like tinctures of like just pure terps that you can add to different things. I guess it's sort of like an essential oil in a way, but it's just like a solid tincture of a terp. So like, say you did get that one strain of, say like wedding cake or something, and you're seeing that it was very weak and it was not helping you. If you had a tincture bottle of myrcene, maybe you could just drop a tiny bit onto your flower and maybe it would boost it up. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. I have no idea if that would actually work. It probably would. I mean, it is the actual raw terp. You're just reincorporating it back into the, flower or something. Sort of like putting icing on a cake.
Absolutely. The icing on the cake. I love that. I do use a shatter sometimes to boost my terpenes. There are shatters out there from CBD companies and THC companies alike that do have terpenes in them, which are wonderful. And that way you can actually put it on top of your flower rather than dabbing it. Mm-hmm. And fun fact, it actually slows the cannabis burning, which helps you save your cannabis, but it also boosts that CBD, the THC, and the terpenes of whatever shatter that you have available to yourself.
This is one of the disadvantages of being on the East Coast. Dabbing hasn't totally hit here yet. I mean, it's here, It's definitely here, but there's a lot of people who just haven't even experienced it yet because it hasn't, recreational isn't everywhere yet. So it's just hard to get your hands on shatter or even like any type of dab. Do you dab for relief as well?
I have tried it a few times. It does hit me instantly, but I haven't been able to necessarily take away the money from my RSO and my cannabis and my vape that I know help me no matter what and put it towards dabbing.
Right.
Just because they do give a little bit amount for a lot of money. And I know they say it's a lot more concentrated, but for myself, that gamble is too scary right now with everything with physical therapy and such. We'll just stick to what I know at this exact moment in time, I feel like, until we can afford to really start experimenting. But I do dab CBD shatter a lot, which is absolutely wonderful. So I do that.
Oh, that's great. All right. So let's get into another one of these. We've got two more to talk about. How did you find out about all these? Was this all research that you've done on your own to try to figure out what would help you? And like, do you like venture out on message boards and things like that to try to figure out what other patients are using?
So I read a lot of studies and I study constantly. Knowledge is power, in my opinion. And I read studies on rats all the time. Unfortunately, like I said, so many do not go to human trials. So I read those studies and I study the plants itself. I study the biochemistry of it now. It's funny, in school, I hated science, and now I absolutely love it because it's teaching me so much and how to help myself. And for me, really, there was no option. There was no option at all. I felt it within my body, and everything in my soul told me that I wanted to keep walking. I was going to keep walking, and I needed to fight. And yet my body would not allow it. And I knew that. And then I came here, and all of a sudden there was an option with cannabis. And I had to know how this helped me. I had to know how this was saving my life when I went doctor to doctor and there was nothing. But bedbound, that was it. There was a time in my life, Cole, where I couldn't make it the 10 steps anymore to my bathroom. And it was really, really hard for me. And there was a time I didn't want tomorrow to happen because I knew that there was no hope for better. The rest of my life was going to get worse and was going to be complete suffering. And I didn't want to live like that anymore. And then I found cannabis, and with the feeling that I get within my body, that what's brought me to studying and learning as much as I could, because I need to know how this is helping me and how it can help other people. Because truly, for me, it feels like a daily miracle, something that was not allowed in my life for so many years. And it's not possible. And yet here I am, and I'm living it, and I'm doing physical therapy, and I'm making strides that were not possible. And cannabis is making every single one of those a goal now. And I hope.
Sarah, I feel so bad. It's like we were born 20 years too early, because like 20 years from now, doctors will know all of this science and be able to prescribe you exactly what you need for like day to day. Like if you have an extremely hard day, there'll be something prescribed that's just sitting there in your cabinet that you can just take, and it'll, remedy it perfectly because it has the exact amount of terpenes and the exact cannabinoids that you need for whatever's going on with you that day. Like, we're just not there yet. Doctors don't know this stuff yet and can't prescribe it like that. It's kind of crazy that we're not there yet. But, once these, like you were saying, it's all in rat tests and experiments, but one day we'll get it to humans and, clinical trials and studies all over the place until like it's such a science that it's just commonplace. Everyone will know what these do and not be afraid of them. We're just still in that scary illegal time period. Like we're still in that prohibition stage, and doctors just aren't educated on it and can't even really speak to it.
Oh yeah.
Mike Robinson told me that pharmacists in California know everything about this. Like they'll know their interactions way better, or the pharmacist techs will know way more than like your local doctor on the East Coast who has no clue.
Oh yeah, and that's something unfortunately I didn't know either. I was able to see his speech at the CBD.io Expo, and it was amazing to me to know that there are interactions with so many drugs. That's something that I myself did not know about, and that shows that there needs to be so much more talked about, so much more research, and this needs to be out in the open even more, so everyone has a right to accurately medicate. And it's funny, you mentioned California. I talked to someone once from California, and they said they were renewing their med card, and they had their medical card for 10 years. And in that moment, I wanted to almost cry because there are still states that are illegal. I moved 1,800 miles and we left everything we've known for a chance for me to have a life. And there's a state that has had this for 10 years. And so many people are still suffering unnecessarily. when there can be an option that can help them. And that's just not okay at all.
Yeah. I mean, Amsterdam, you could have been living there since the 80s and been had access to this, you know? But, it's crazy.
Who knows then, hey?
Right.
More CBD Source podcast right after this.
TheCBDGang.com, the official subreddit for fans of the CBD Source podcast. Questions, answers, CBD gangsters, and karma at sweet karma.
CBD Gang, we're looking for your weed man van stories. The typical weed man in van has many faces.
Space Cowboy,
Roach,
Filthy Frank,
many names. Scary Van Dam,
Creepy Casper,
Tired Tanner,
and many different types of vans. But everybody has met him, and everybody has a story. What spliff lord turns you to the dank side? We want to hear about your first experience with the wacky weed, the ganja, Miss Mary Jane. You know, trees. Give the show a call at 1-833-CBD-GANG. Tell us your story in 3 minutes or less, and we might play it on the show. Hell, one day we might animate it for our YouTube page. Yowza, it's dank AF in here. Someone's smoking the good stuff in the studio. We'll spray some Ozium and be right back with more of the CBD Source podcast. We're back with more of the CBD Source podcast. Here's your host, Cull.
All right, we got a couple more and then we'll wrap this up. Pulegone? How do you pronounce this? Pulegone?
I call it Pulegone myself.
Pulegone.
My Midwest.
All right, no, that's good. Say it again.
Pulegone.
All right. Pulegone. Pulegone.
Yes.
So
and tomato. We're not 100% sure.
I don't know. I'm just saying them for the first time out loud. So you're right. I'm not. Yeah. Where can we find this, and what kind of effects is this known to have?
So this is a big one for cannabis. It's of course found in peppermint, rosemary, catnip, for instance, and camphor weed as well. But that one's huge for people that need memory support. And it also goes for patients as well. So it helps with the brain fog for myself. I love Pulegone for that. But then it also helps people with that THC effect where you're forgetful. So Pulegone is a huge one for that. It also has a sedative effect for many of us where it helps my muscles. And it almost helps reduce my stress levels as well throughout the day. It keeps me leveled out with the pain.
Nice. So that's in peppermint and catnip, you said? We tried some CBD that was catnip flavored. I don't know. It must have had some Pulegone in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was for cats. But we tried it anyway. I don't know.
And the feline CBD oil is 300 milligram catnip flavor. All right, I'm trying the catnip flavor. I don't know if that's going to be great, but it's worth a shot. I know. You know, it's great for cats, but who knows if it's great for humans. Surprisingly good. Actually, really good.
Catnip is consumable for humans, though. I do take catnip tea myself.
Oh, nice.
I do a mix of valerian root and catnip tea. So it is consumable, and it does have that stress reducing and that sedative and that memory support. And you can kind of see, too, when your cat kind of, all of a sudden they play with it, they get really wild, and they're like, ah, and then they kind of pass out. That's that Pulegone taking effect, where that's that sedative effect.
Wow. Yeah, certain cats also love weed, weirdly enough.
Yes, I have heard that. My cat despises the smell and is gone for her life when I medicate. She's not used to it yet, I don't think.
Oh, okay. Maybe she just needs a
Or maybe she just runs around.
Maybe a high Pulegone strain would help her or something.
Oh, yeah. Some catnip.
Right. All right, so last one. Ocimene? How do you say that?
Ocimene, yes, that's how I say it as well.
Ocimene? Ocimene?
Yes, ocimene. So ocimene is energetic and uplifting for many people when they use it with their cannabis and add that terpene into it. It's also known to be a decongestant for many people. And I have heard, this is not proven, I do want to say that, but some people that I do know that use it for, like they have asthma, they have said that ocimene strains are something that works for that. That is not something that's proven, I want to say. I've talked to about 2 people that have said that. But I did find that so interesting that was something that was even said out there. I was like, I didn't even know you could use it for that.
If there's any universities out there doing asthma studies, throw some ocimene in there and see what happens. Might work.
I would be so interested to know this, or even just diffusing it maybe. It's found naturally in mint, lavender, parsley, orchids. Orchids is one that has ocimene in it. It's that wonderful smell.
You diffuse a lot of these too, or just you buy the essential oil version of these and put them in a diffuser, or do you mix it in? You just strictly mix it into the coconut oil and use it as a salve? So
I use essential oils in different ways. I use it as a topical. I also ingest them just straight out of the bottle. They don't taste wonderful, but it's pain relief. So do what you have to do, you know?
Right.
And then I also diffuse them as well. I was blessed enough to actually win a scholarship with Young Living, which gave me the option to be able to try all these essential oils. And that's what kind of brought them into my life. And that's when I figured out that plants have so many terpenes that I can bring in with my cannabis. And now we're just flooding my body with as many terpenes as possible and much cannabis as possible to just live my best quality of life that there is out there.
Wow, that's so cool and inspiring for people who are going through some serious stuff like you are. It's cool that you've already kind of stumbled into this, and now by listening to this episode, some other people might be stumbling into it as well. So that's great. It was so awesome having you on the show, Sarah. Really, really cool that you got to tell me all about these different terpenes. I'm sure we'll be contacting you again and talking about more stuff. You just did it. Speaking of CBDIO, you just did a lecture there too this year.
Yes, I was on the panel for Meeting Patients' Needs.
How did that go?
That was absolutely phenomenal. It was an amazing experience. I was able to talk about not only my journey with cannabis and moving and what it has done for my life, but I also was able to talk to so many companies and talk to a broad audience about terpenes. That was something that, of course, I talked about, the cost of cannabis, the reality that for many of us, the more we have, the less pain we have. And that's just period, point blank, to make sure that patients stay at the forefront of the conversation. And I was so blessed to have that opportunity to speak on their stage, on their platform, to be able to talk to so many people.
The gang's all here. The CBD gang. Give the show a call at 1-833-223-4264. That's 1-833-CBD-GANG.
I keep seeing things about this magazine. It's called like Terps and Something Else magazine. It's like a magazine just about terpenes, and you can get a subscription to it. I haven't gotten a subscription yet, but I'm like, I think there's like an online downloadable PDF of one issue or something. It's really fascinating, like the knowledge and research that's going on with terpenes. Let me look it up.
I've not heard of that magazine. I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah, it's called Terpenes and Testing Magazine, and it looks like it's really well produced. It's well laid out and designed. Terpenesandtesting.com. Maybe after this episode, Terpenes and Testing can hook me up with a subscription, maybe for free. I don't know, maybe. But, you know, giving me a little plug here.
Add one in for Riding Zebra. I'll take it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe you can get hooked up considering you're like such a terp advocate. And not only that, there's a story in you that these guys should be covering. You could be a featured article in that magazine. So definitely get in touch with Terpenes and Testing Magazine, because maybe they'll hook you up or write about you.
Yeah,
you could be in.
Absolutely. I just put it down, so I will look them up right away.
Yeah, check it out. I downloaded one issue of theirs and was just reading through it, and it was so fascinating. Very cool that people are out there testing terps, talking about terps, and going into detail about it. So this is something you can add to your reading list.
Definitely. And it's ironic because when I went to the conference to first speak about terpenes, I thankfully was able to talk to a lot of companies and network beforehand. And I found out that they didn't know about terpenes. I thought when I was coming on the conference to speak about them, I was targeting patients. Patients didn't know about terpenes. And then I figured out that so many companies were like, well, what do you mean? It smells like lemon. I was like, oh, okay. Or it's a terpene infused. And I was like, what terpene? And they just looked at me and had no idea what I was talking about. And I realized that the industry is something that's lacking in terpenes, not just patients not knowing how to pick their medicine. It's something that's not listed anywhere. So no one even knows what terpenes are in many states.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. I was talking to, when we interviewed Tommy Chong at MJ BizCon, while we were waiting online, I was talking to someone at like the lab. It was in the Tommy Chong episode, but he was talking about how when they talk about like a plant, there's the heads, the bodies, and the tails, or something like that.
Yeah, the fraction binder specifically, that's exactly what it does.
Oh, okay.
You know, there's this notion of heads, bodies, and tails, right? And so the fraction binder will literally tell you when it's time to switch your flasks. Heads are like the terps.
Okay.
Kind of want to get rid of them. The bodies, that's the gold. That's what people really love to see, that like gold, gooey stuff. The clearer, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And the fraction finder tells you that. And then the tails, that's like the leftovers that we kind of end up reprocessing or throwing away. So yeah, this stuff literally tells you that.
That's really cool. I didn't know those 3 parts. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you do with the terps? Do you isolate them and put them back in sometime?
Some people isolate them. With some it's newer stuff, you can isolate them. Some people just throw them away. When you're doing distillate, terps are often considered sort of a byproduct.
Oh, okay.
Which is crazy because they're yummy, right?
Yeah. Sell them to a secondary market.
Yeah. There's an opportunity.
Right, yeah,
You're an
exactly.
entrepreneur, I can see that.
All right, there you go. And the heads are the terps. And it's like the garbage. They don't want it. That's not the money. So it's kind of bizarre to me that like they're pretty much throwing away the heads, the terpenes, when people in the know, like you and myself, know that these terps can actually be hugely beneficial, and not only that, they create the like aroma and the taste and whatever of the different strains and, your experience overall. And for you, obviously the medical effects that I wouldn't know about specifically because I don't have the ailment to begin with, but people with some kind of ailment, when they're taking the right combination of terps and cannabinoids and flavonoids and whatever, all this stuff together, it's sort of like putting your fingers on a piano and making an exact right sound. You know what I mean? Like 1 or 2 fingers in the wrong place and it's not going to do it for you. So it's kind of like you need all these different elements. And when you stumble on the right one that works for your body, write it down or like, like that's the one you want to try to, if you can replicate or keep buying that exact strain. And if it's, the exact same proportion, then you're golden. But people don't, like you were saying, like, I can't believe the industry doesn't really know much about this. Well, I can believe it because I didn't know much about it. And I'm learning more each day. And every time I talk to someone like you who knows their shit, I grow a little bit more in my knowledge base, and so does everyone else listening at home. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Like, really educational. It's kind of cool that we got some actual information of, these are the different terps. These are some major terps that you should know, and they're not scary. They exist in other things that are common. You'll find them in the produce section of your grocery store or your local forest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And it's not something to be afraid of. And like you said, it not necessarily allows patients. It also allows patients to accurately find their medicine, but it also allows everyone to accurately get their experience. So it gives you the experience of cannabis the way you want it when you find the right terpenes for your body and what you need for yourself.
Right.
Definitely. There's so many terpenes on there. I will be working on more sheets, and I would love to come back on anytime, Cole, and share more and more about terpenes with you or chat anytime. Thank you for having me on.
Next time we do an episode about terps, we'll definitely have you back on. We'll talk about some more terps or like other experiences you've had with strains and what terps have done for you. So hopefully you keep getting better and better. And next time we talk to you, you'll be at a constant 2 or 0. Let's get it to a 0. Is that possible? One day we can get there.
I haven't felt that yet, but honestly, I have hope. I truly do.
So do I.
Or at least to 2, It's like, I'm working on it, and I'm working on stabilizing with PT. And that's something I haven't been able to do for years and years. It was impossible. And I just did a push-up. I'll tell you, Cole, I just did a push-up yesterday. I did 8 in a row, which is literally like a miracle for me. And it's like, there's progress. So I feel like at this point, nothing's really impossible because I found nature, and somehow it's getting me through. And there's a purpose for everything. I feel like this is bringing me to that purpose. One person needs to hear this and just know that, just try it. And if they can get help from it, then it brings a reason for all of this.
Very well said. I'm not going to be able to top that.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Have a good day, Cole.
You too. Sarah Schwefel, thank you for coming on the CBD Source podcast and teaching us all about terps.
Thank you for having me, Cole, and I'd love to be on anytime. Thank you so much.
Great. Gang, Sarah Schwefel.
Anthony Sullivan here for the CBD Source Podcast. You've heard the rest, now listen to the best.
Gang's all here. The CBD Gang. Give the show a call at 1-833-223-4264. That's 1-833-CBD-GANG.
Wow, what a great conversation. I had to turn this into an episode by itself because I just talked to Sarah this morning and her story is too good to just parse out and make it only about terps. When someone's body processes an element of marijuana or hemp differently than other people, it's really cool to see how much of an impact, like say myrcene has on her. If we took myrcene, it wouldn't be doing the exact same thing, but it would be doing something in conjunction with the cannabinoids. Everyone's endocannabinoid system is different, so it's going to affect you in different ways than it would affect me, and definitely in different ways than it affects her. But talking to people like this, it really shows how much medicinal value is in this plant. More and more is being discovered about it, and more tests are being done on every little element of these plants. So any chance I get to absorb new information and get it out there to you, gang, I'm going to jump at it. So our prize for today, if you've got sore joints or aching muscles, we've got a Fusion CBD hemp and salve ointment made with full spectrum hemp extract. Now, it's a 4-ounce jar, 300 milligrams of CBD, full spectrum, and this thing is chock full of terps. It almost sounds like something Sarah would make. The ingredients include coconut oil, beeswax, shea nut oil, aloe, vitamin E, lemongrass, which has myrcene in it, lavender, which has linalool in it, eucalyptus, which is your ethylene, or pinene. Full spectrum hemp extracts with terpenes, it says. So, gang, we've got this jar of Fusion CBD hemp salve ointment full of terpenes. It's still factory sealed. To give it away, this is going to be so easy. All I want you to do, we're going to take a picture of it tomorrow. We'll put it on Instagram. After you've listened to this episode, I want you to go to that picture and just like it. And then in the comments, I want you to tell me about a different terpene, one that's not in this jar and one that we didn't cover on the show. So it has to be a terpene that I don't know about. You got to teach me about new terps, all right? And hopefully we'll have a bunch of comments and then we'll learn about other terps together. We'll inform each other. No duplicates. That's a rule. I'll have Cass pick one at random, and you, my friend, will walk away with this Fusion CBD hemp salve ointment, and you can rub it all over your sore muscles and joints and let those terps do their magic. So, gang, good luck with that. Next episode's going to be a big, really fun one. So, gang, make sure to tune in next week, and I'll CBD you next Wednesday.
Give the show a call at 1-833-223-4264. That's 1-833-CBD-GANG.
CBD Source Podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Cole Cheney. Graphic design, photo, and artwork by Ryan Weber, Johnny D, Kevin Bierfelt, Steve, and Cole Cheney. Marketing by Penny Spinazzola. Special thanks to our resident CBD guru, Akash Patel, our CBD Source Vape Lounge expert, Anthony Maltese, our C-Body Fitness instructor, Danny, our personal Cannabidiet CBD chef, Ryan Weber, our CBD News co-host and vocal artist, Tasha Miller, and our CBD Gang subreddit mod, social media maven, and wrap-up girl Cass. That's me. Additional thanks to Caitlin, Liz, Ryan, and Kevin for lending your vocal talent. Want to be a guest on the show? Or do you have a great Weed Man Van story? Or a story about your craziest experience with the munchies? Call us at 1-833-CBD-GANG. Again, that's 1-833-223-4264. And leave a message. We like your story, we might play it on the show. Visit us on cbdsourcepodcast.com for all your links to social media, YouTube, and our message board, r/CBDGang on Reddit. Be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week.
All information in this podcast, or its related his social media pages and interactions are for informational purposes only. The CBD Source podcast does not offer medical advice. Its host, Cole Chaney, is not a medical professional. His experiences with cannabidiol and other cannabinoids are his own and may not affect you the same way. Everybody's endocannabinoid system is different. The statements made regarding CBD products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The efficacy of these products and the testimonials made have not been confirmed by FDA-approved research. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All information presented here is not meant as a substitute for or alternative to information from healthcare practitioners. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act requires this notice.
Do you like or want to try quality, third-party tested CBD? Do you live in the New York, Pennsylvania area? We got you covered, gang. We're growing more each month, so check in with cbdsourcecenter.com to find our addresses and new store locations. While you're there, sign up for our mailing list. We're adding new stores across New York and Pennsylvania all the time. We may soon be expanding to a town near you.
Want to score free CBD? Sign up for Loyal and Save online or on your phone and use it whenever you shop at CBD Source locations. You'll earn points towards free products and other cool merch. Sign up for free at cbdsourcepodcast.com/loyal. You can download the Loyal and Save app on iTunes or Google Play. That's our loyalty app. Call Help designed it. Making your commute a little less stressful. The CBD Source Podcast. The gang's all here. The CBD gang. Thank you for listening to the CBD Source Podcast. This is how we CB do's it.